Welcome to Carolina Outdoors with Hal Schaefer, Ken Cobb, and Trappist Dowdle. Carolina Outdoors is dedicated to bringing the best of the outdoors to you. Carolina Outdoors is brought to you by Nikon, the trusted name in optics. Summit Tree Stands, all new, all yours. Camillus Knives, always on the cutting edge. Ruger, arms makers for responsible citizens. Trophy Rock, to get the rack, get the rock. Plot Saver, changing the way you grow food plots. Streamlight, heroes trust Streamlight. Mossy Oak, all natural, all year. Primo's Hunt Calls, speak the language. Muzzy, bad to the bone. And Pack Mule, kickstart your food plots with the Mule.
Hello everybody and welcome to Carolina Outdoors. This week we continue our quest for the Triple Grand Slam. We've got 2 down, Kenny. We're headed for our 3rd.
It's our first trip to Texas for both of us, and man, we're really looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's right, and the pressure was starting to build for us. You know, you got the 2 under your belt, you headed for the 3rd, but you know what they say, everything in Texas is big. Well, I don't know about the turkeys being bigger, but the numbers were certainly there.
Man, they were really there. And the birds were beautiful, weren't they? The way the sun hit their backs, the Rios are really copper colored. We got buff tips. And the Miriams are beautiful, but I don't know, the Rios might have them.
I tell you what, they were my favorite bird by far. You know, one thing about those birds is they do have longer legs, and we were talking earlier that they're somewhat nomadic. Not a lot of trees are roost in the trees, but they travel for a long ways.
Yeah, they go a long ways every day. And that made it easier for us to pattern them. We could set up on the trees, and we knew where they were going during the day, and we really got into the action, didn't we?
Yeah, that's right. You know, one thing, though, Ken, that came up is there were so many birds, sometimes you really didn't know what direction they were going to come from. But, you know, another thing that was wonderful about this trip was the amount of just different animals that we saw.
Right. We got to watch a lot of deer, and I mean lots of them. They were starting to grow antlers already, and exotics.
Oh, yeah. Stuff
everything
from Africa. And what's unusual about Texas is, you know, 20 years ago they brought all these exotics in, and they have went from fence to fence, from high fence area to high fence area.
And they're scattered everywhere.
Now they're just part of the normal habitat there. So I tell you what, you stay tuned and watch as we go on the quest for the Rio turkeys.
In case you missed last week's show, let's check on Hal and Kenny's progress in their quest for the Grand Slam.
Turkey hunting is one of my great passions, and you can imagine my eagerness to head to Florida for my first ever Osceola turkey hunt, which would be our first leg of the Grand Slam. The turkey hunting was everything I imagined it would be, but I think the best part of the trip was the friendships we made along the way, some of the memories we shared as we hunted for these great birds. We were fortunate to run into a few guys down there, Dusty, Frank, and Garnet, who were kind enough to share their great hunting spots with us and to help us make our hunt successful. We're back in South Carolina for the 2nd leg of the Turkey Grand Slam. I'm hunting with Hal as my cameraman, and it wasn't long before we had a bird out in the field. This bird wasn't interested in any of my calling. All he wanted to do was feed, and Hal and I had about as much as we could take, and we were about to run out of film, so we had to do something quick. We ended up getting the bird in to about 60 yards. The Charles Daly guns took him down, and to my excitement when we brought him in, he was a double bearder with some really good spurs. Hal, thanks for hunting with me, buddy. I enjoyed it.
Now check this bird out. Oh, buddy, all right. 2 hours, man. 2 hours. What a hunt. Well, I tell you what, I was certainly excited about going on my first Osceola hunt and my first ever quest for the Grand Slam. We ended up on a point, set up on a point, and the bird come up from behind us on the left-hand side, and all of a sudden he was there. We heard him coming, but we didn't see him till the very last second. But boy, I tell you what a great feeling, an awesome feeling bringing that bird down and starting off the Grand Slam in a positive way. Old Frank Sardina, he was a big help to us there, letting us come on his property, and there's nothing like making great friends. Well, now we're after the most popular bird, the eastern, on a second leg of the Grand Slam. We're down in the Georgetown area, and boy, this was an unusual hunt. The big old gobbler comes rolling in with all these subordinate jakes, and that's unusual. But the real unusual turn is what happened with my gun and my shells. I tell you, I went through a lot of problems trying to get a good shell in there. For some reason, we had 2 shells misfire in a row. But some great thinking on a good friend of ours, Bill Shire's part, and he was doing some wonderful calling. He started calling, letting me eject some shells. Finally, we got a good one in as they were starting to get nervous and get out of range. We actually dropped this big gobbler, and boy, it was a sigh of relief. And something about every hunt always seems to be something just a little special about it, and this is one I'll always remember. Darby to the kitchen table real quick because I thought this one was gone. I thought this fella had got away from us.
The Carolina Outdoors crew flew into San Antonio, and then we drove out to a little town called Rock Springs, Texas. This is where we kick off our Texas turkey action. On our drive into Rock Springs, we notice how different the terrain is from where we hunt back home, and also the creative names of the roads, such as Ranch Road. It fits the name. Most of Texas is made up of large ranches. And of course, not many paved roads once you get onto these ranch areas. One of our favorite things were the push gates, which we didn't quite master up front. The Carolina Outdoors gang is anxious to arrive to get everything unpacked, jump in the sack, and get ready for the early morning hunt. We're going to kick off this hunt with Ken Cobb as we go after the Texas Rios. Today we'll be hunting in Rogers County, Texas for the Rio turkey. We have cloudy skies with winds gusting up to 15 miles an hour, on and off light rain, temperatures starting in the morning in the upper 50s and rising to the low 80s.